and welcome back to another episode of the Kate Hamilton Health Podcast. So in today's episode, I chat with Rebecca Forshaw. Rebecca is a UK-based alcohol-free coach who helps individuals reduce or remove alcohol from their lives without relying solely on willpower. She is best known for her 30-day alcohol-free challenge and companion ebook, which provides structured guidance and practical steps towards lasting change. With a supportive and relatable approach, Rebecca focuses on habit design, mindset shifts, and sustainable routines that make alcohol-free living both achievable and empowering. And that is exactly what this conversation is. It is empowering. We just have such an amazing casual conversation around the topic of alcohol, both of our personal experiences around alcohol. And I know any of you who've been listening for a while will have listened to my alcohol episode. We talk about it in relation to lifestyle, mindset, what life without alcohol, like the potential of what it can actually feel like. We talk about the benefits, the freedom. I try and not be too much of a health coach and focus more on kind of the lifestyle side of things rather than the health. But we do go into it, particularly in relation to digestion, fat loss, and sleep, the difference that, taking a break from alcohol can make to all of these really important areas of health. We talk about the freedom. This was a really strong feeling for both of us in relation to what giving up alcohol has done for both of us is in relation to freedom. Rebecca then gives practical tips on how you can make a change that works for you. And in this episode, this is not about having to go alcohol free by any means. This is just having a conversation around alcohol and maybe exploring your relationship with alcohol. And maybe it's you feel like taking a little short break, restructuring and changing your relationship with alcohol. And maybe you are thinking about giving it up. But either way, there's something in this for everyone. And I think you're really going to enjoy. Rebecca, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Kate. I'm really excited to be here.
We're finally getting this done with months of, it was, like I said, about a year ago that we initially met. Probably over a year ago at this stage.
Was it in December last year, I think? It was
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the Social Circle event was that last December?
It was in Dublin, wasn't it?
It was in Dublin, yeah.
Time goes too quickly, doesn't it?
It really does. No, absolutely flies. Like, I can't believe we're end of September as we're recording this. It'll be even later by the time this goes out. But even just trying to get around to getting this recording done as well. But I'm so excited to chat today. And we're going to talk around all things alcohol. But before we kind of get into you and your story, right? And I'll answer this as well. But I just think this might be a nice different way to kind of start the conversation. What is the one thing that giving up alcohol has given you back out of all the things? What is your one main thing?
Freedom. Yeah, complete freedom. The noise has gone out of my head. I know you said one thing, and I'm going to put two things, and confidence. And I know that sounds really bizarre because people have alcohol to give them a bit of confidence, don't they? But I just feel like I'm happy in my own skin. And yeah, it's taken a long time to get there. I have just turned 50 years old this year. And it's a sense of kind of just calm and being able to do what you want to do, not thinking around the constraints of whether or not you need to get a taxi home from somewhere, that kind of thing. You're just free to live your life. Will there be drinks there? You don't even have to worry about that anymore. It's all gone.
Yeah. It's funny, freedom was one of mine. Freedom is definitely one that it's given me, but for me, it's very much freedom from anxiety, like freedom from self-doubt, freedom from limiting beliefs, freedom just in every sense of the word. I just feel so free without it. And connection is a huge one, which is an interesting one. And actually, there's a two-sided coin to this, which we'll talk more about throughout the podcast, because I know, meeting people for drinks can be a real sense of connection, and you can lose that a little bit if you don't replace it in other ways. But I feel like the connection with myself, the connection with my kids, with my spouse, with my family is just so much stronger. Even just my connection, with my surroundings and nature, but really connection with myself and who I am what I actually enjoy that doesn't have anything to do with drinking. And it just really has been just a life changing experience for me. And it hasn't been smooth. Like, it hasn't been like, oh, one day I woke up and I said I'd never drink again or anything like that. It's been dipping in and out of it a good bit, which I'll talk a little bit more on as we get going. But yeah, freedom and connection for me.
Yeah, it's a journey, isn't it? And I hate that word, it's so cliched, but it really is. And you do learn so much about yourself. Like, I heard you say this on your podcast after you'd been a year alcohol free about how you always thought you were an extrovert, but actually you're an introvert. And same as me, and I'm still working that out. But so many parts of it have led to me thinking that, yeah, I really like my own space, my own time. I always thought that I was the party animal, the social butterfly. And maybe it's an age thing as well, but it's definitely allowed me to connect with myself and find out who I really am. And it makes you feel like you don't kind of care as much as you perhaps once did. And the anxiety thing is huge, which we can come on to as well.
Yeah, no, no, definitely. And I think, you say that maybe it's an age thing as well, but there's about 10 years between me and you. So you gave up alcohol more recently, closer to the age of 50. So the first time I went alcohol free for any period of time would have been my early 30s. So that would be they're two very different stages of life, really. Like, so anyone who's listening, it really doesn't matter what stage of life. It's never too late. It's never too early if it's something that you don't think agrees with you that it's worth. And like, when we're talking about alcohol in this conversation, myself and Rebecca, we're talking as two women who have just found it doesn't serve us anymore. It's not that this isn't necessarily conversation around addiction or anything like that. And that we do always kind of urge people, if you think that you are dealing with an addiction, that you seek the appropriate help for that. But this is very much, anyone who just has that kind of underlying, it's just kind of happening a lot and just not feeling good in yourself, and you want to make change but you don't really know how because it's such a habit. That's kind of what we're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. It's like that noise in your head. And ladies who just feel like they're middle lane drinkers, you might have heard the term grey area drinkers. It's just taking up a little bit too much space in your head. And you feel like you want to have a break and then see where that goes, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about your journey there, Rebecca? And I suppose your relationship with alcohol, what happened that made you go, right, I need a break?
Yeah, of course. Just before I do, though, I wanted to say that, you were talking about at any age is so the oldest lady at the moment that's in my community, she's 70 years old and she's actually more alive and more active than in life than any of us in the community whatsoever. It's amazing to see. And like you say, it wasn't like there was a massive problem for her. She just felt like alcohol wasn't serving her anymore and wanted to try a break, and actually decided after she tried a break to carry on with life. And
Yeah.
I listen to podcasts myself. You hear girls who are in their 20s. I mean, who kind of I guess, my audience is midlife women. But it's lovely to hear that girls in their 20s, in their 30s are leaving alcohol behind. And I feel like there's been a complete shift in alcohol generally for definitely the young generation growing up. It certainly wasn't like it was when I was growing up, which I guess leads me to what it was like growing up in the 80s and 90s, because alcohol was all around, wasn't it? Like you say, I'm 10 years older than you, but it certainly was almost a rite of passage, going to the local discos, then going to the pub when you're old enough and seeing what you can, what cocktails you can get. I think we'd drink anything at the time. Then you get
It's a real rite of passage, wasn't it? Like, I remember like growing up, and like it's great that we're having this conversation. You grew up in the UK, I grew up in Ireland, but like very, very similar drinking culture. And I think sometimes Ireland get a worse rep for it, but I think you English are just as bad as us, really. Um, Because I would have grown up in the pub, like my parents would have, like, and everyone did, like it was like at the weekend on a Sunday or whatever, you went, your parents brought you to the pub. We might have went out for a Sunday walk, and then they would have gone for like 2 or 3 pints or whatever, and it was so normal, and you had your Coke and your packet of crisps, and I remember, and this is back in, people were smoking in bars as well, and it was weird, like in the whole big cloud, and it was just such, like, because I grew up in the 90s, it was just so normal that by the time I turned 18 in the early 2000s, like it was like a rite of passage. It was the excitement of being able to go to the pub with your friends, not being there with your mum and dad and aunties and uncles. And like, you know, that it was just, and I remember, but even for me, like even it was like smoking, looking at when I was like, like a tween, let's say, or a kid, you know, looking at the old, like the girls in their 20s that were out with their friends, smoking a cigarette and drinking in the park. And it was just so cool and it was so normal or something.
It was.
Yeah,
I actually smoked as well. I gave up when I was 30. Thankfully, that was one of the other best things I ever did. But
yeah,
again, it was just kind of introduced. And actually, I remember a girl it was a French exchange trip. So when I was younger, she came to visit and stay. Sophie, her name was. So we took her to the pub. I think we were about 18. And I said, "What do you want to drink?" And she said, "Nothing, I'm fine, thanks." And I went, "What? But you have to drink something." She said, "No, I'm fine," because the culture wasn't the same there. I wasn't necessarily and I kind of went, "Well, just get a blackcurrant and lemonade then." But it was really, you didn't even think about it. You didn't question it because it just was the way it was. And I guess then, wires you into thinking that that's how life continues. So you just associate having alcohol with going out, and that's what you do. You go into your 30s, 20s, sorry. I went to university, so I guess money's tight. It's cheapest wine kind of thing. And then and it was all the ladette culture at the time, and that was massive in the media. So it was a cool thing. And then you start to settle down as you get into your whatever 30s, 40s, and perhaps not going out as much. And then wine creeps in. Everyone's got different drinks of choice, but a lot of the women that I chat to, wine becomes their, I guess, way to de-stress at the end of the day, that kind of thing. And that's what happened to me, as in, before you know it, all your friends are coming round for a girls' night in on a Friday, and you bring a few bottles of what everyone brings, some wine, and there's a few bottles of wine in the fridge. And then before you know it, you are thinking, "Do you know what? I feel stressed. I've had a really stressful day at work. Let's just have a glass of wine." And it creeps in before you know it. And what happened to me was, I was, when was it? February 2024. Well, just before that, my mum was 94. And together with my sisters and my brother, we were all helping look after her. I guess us women, we are juggling everything, aren't we? We're taxis, we are helping aged parents, elderly parents, we're wives, partners, mums. We've got so much going on in life. And I think that we associate and think we deserve that glass of wine at the end of the night, but actually it suddenly stops being fun and it starts to not be fun anymore. So I was juggling that with my mum not being very well, and realizing that I was just getting extra tired, feeling absolutely bloody exhausted. And so mum died in the February, and I got to the April, and I think I had taken months off here and there just to say, I'm going to give my body a reset, and then it's fine. I'll crack on again. And I think the difference was as well was that, I'd do a dry January, but I'd almost be clinging on to February by my fingernails, thinking I've given up for a month, and then I'm gonna, I'll have shown everybody that I'm healthy and this, that, and the other. And actually then February the 1st comes, and what do you want to do? You straight away have a drink. And it was that feeling that you were giving something up. So it got to April, and I'd thought about it a lot, and I decided that I was going to pick a date. And I actually joined a group as well. It was a podcast that I'd listened to, and they seemed so cool, really approachable. It was just a mixture of lots of different men and women of all ages, all backgrounds. And I think what it was I thought it would be helpful to be accountable to somebody, because they were on like day 60 or whatever, because I wanted to do 30 days and then see how it went. I mean, kind of, I guess, in my own head, I thought maybe I want to go for longer, but you don't want to say that. But you see, the point of having that group was just so helpful, because your partner doesn't necessarily get it, your friends don't get it. So if you're the only one not drinking, but everyone thinks you're weird. I mean, I was lucky because they were supportive, but they do, don't they? And you've got no one else to kind of bounce it around with, to say, "How are you finding it? What's this?" It was great to be able to be in that group. And that helped me as well to stop drinking. So it gave me time and space to reassess what I wanted. And I did do 30 days. And then I did 60. And I left the group, but I carried on. And now I am over 18 months alcohol free. And it's the best thing that I
Amazing.
ever did.
Yeah. That's absolutely amazing. And at what stage did you set up your group? Because I know the group that you joined obviously inspired you to be like, I need to create this. This is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah. So when you're taking a break from alcohol, because you're so used to using it to celebrate, to commiserate, all of those things, it takes a while to get your head around it, doesn't it? Let's face it. It's not necessarily a walk in the park. And actually, what I do want to say as well, life still happens. But what I have found is it's so much easier to navigate that without alcohol in it. So yeah, I kind of took myself away a little bit, and because on the day that I decided to take a break, which was the 22nd of April, I told my best friend and she got made redundant and she phoned me. I was thinking, no, because you can't come round because I'll just want to open a bottle of wine with you and have that. So I did, and she was, she was really respectful and stayed away a little bit. So we'd go on walks instead of just
Mm.
because also, of course, the first thing that to do would be come round, open a bottle of wine, and you have to change that situation because you get what you get what you put in and get out what you put in. And if I'd not changed anything, then nothing was going to change for me. So I am getting to the point here. I took that break, but with at arm's length of a couple of people that I just thought, you know what, I've got to look after myself here, go out walking, start going to the gym, but not doing everything too much at once. Minstrels actually were my saving grace. I loved a minstrel. Instead of opening a wine on a Friday night, I'd have a bag of minstrels. And then once I got into my groove and felt like think I'm ready to go and go out socially and see what this is all about without having a glass of wine in your hand or a glass of Prosecco, I decided to start an Instagram page because I thought it's going to help other women who were like me, who was just thinking, I'm feeling rubbish and I'm starting to feel anxious because you get to a certain point in your life as well, certainly in midlife, where you're feeling tired, you're not sleeping, all of those things. And you think that you're the only one. So when you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you really do think that you are the only one that's waking up and you lie awake for hours. And then at 6 o'clock in the morning, just before you're about to get up, you fall back asleep. Like, this has got to, there's got, and not everybody realizes it's alcohol. And a lot of it is alcohol. I mean, there's a lot of things, isn't there? So
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to share that with other women and show them that you can do it and don't have to give up forever, but you can certainly change your relationship with alcohol. You can certainly, by putting some space between you and a bottle of wine, can make such a difference. So I did that in October last year, and my following started to grow because it would appear that there's such an appetite out there for it. There's a lot of women who are feeling the same way.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's never been an not an easier time, a nicer time to make this change, with like there's so many alcohol-free beers out there. It's, like you can go out to an event now and have like, like over here, I don't know if it's the same in the UK. You can get a pint of Heineken Zero on draft. So it's like you're drinking a pint of beer, but it's zero beer. You can still, or like, just get a little bottle of it, or, I'm yet to find a nice alcohol free wine, to be fair. I think people are a lot more understanding than they were perhaps like a few years ago, and it is easier. And I do think that it probably is an easier decision to make in your 30s and 40s and beyond that than in your 20s, because with drinking culture in your 20s, which I do want to talk about it in a minute as well. But from your story, what you've just said, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to like this, that's going to resonate with an awful lot of people, especially what you said there about the fun excitement of going out drinking in your 20s, let's say, and then you start to settle down in your 30s, let's say, and suddenly it creeps in at home. And you're right. Suddenly it's not fun anymore. It's just, and this was me as well, that it's just, you're just doing it like because it's such a habit. And like, and I used to really look forward to it. Like when I think about, like, I had my first child quite young, like I was 23. So when I had my oldest kid, and me and Dave were really lucky that, like, my parents and his parents were close by, and my sister was young and his sister was young, and they didn't have kids, and there was always someone to mind him. So we still got to go out as young people. And then 3 years later, I had my second child at 26. And even then, with two kids, like, we used to get out like a good couple of times a month, and there's always someone to mind the kids. And we go out, and like I go out, we could be out till 2 or 3 o'clock, and I would get up in the morning with a hangover with two toddlers, like, and just kind of get on with my day. Like when I think about it, I wasn't missing out on that 20s behavior. And then when it got to the stage, kind of that, yeah, of like getting closer to 30, and people weren't going out as much, and I did then slip into that wine at home, and I used to really look forward to it. Like, I would never have drank every night because, like, anyone who's listened to the podcast long enough, my anxiety would not have let me do that. But I used to, like, I used to quite often have a few glasses of wine on a Thursday night because I wouldn't get to Friday. Like Thursday, I'd be like, oh yeah, let's share a bottle of wine. Like, and sure, of course, Dave might have like a glass, but I drink the rest of it. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, then I would be like an anxious mess by Sunday. So I would never drink on a Sunday because I'd have to go to work on a Monday. And then I'd be struggling Monday and Tuesday, be coming around Wednesday, Thursday. And then by Thursday night, like not every Thursday night, but some Thursday nights, I'd be like, if the weather was good, oh, let's sit out in the garden and have some wine. Or it was just cozy night in and there was something good on the TV, oh, let's get wine. And the cycle would start again. And I did that for years. And
And the way you're saying it as well, oh, let's get wine, like it's a treat, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, it's a treat. And in my 20s as well, like I gave up smoking when I was in my early 20s, but I never gave it up when I was drinking. So I actually think a lot of my drinking habit was also tied into a nicotine addiction as well, where it was very much like I really looked forward to, because as soon as I wouldn't even be a case that I'd wait to get drunk. Like I would have one glass of wine and I'd be like, yes, cigarette time. And it would tie in together with that. And there'll be some people, even cigarettes aside, that are listening to that and they're like, yes, I really look forward to my wine. I really, and I do feel trapped in that cycle. But I just found what I was doing for those years was dragging myself around kind of subpar. So it's like in recent years, and I can't even remember the pattern, even when you were talking about like, your break, like I know you've taken a break from alcohol and you've just stayed off it. At one stage, I did 2 years alcohol free. That was back, I'm trying to think when it was. I think it was, well, I think I was pregnant with my youngest, who just turned 8 yesterday. I was pregnant with him, so that was most of the year that I was pregnant, but I stayed off it, and I think I stayed off it till, yeah, I did 2 full years there. And what you said there about life still happening really resonates with me. My father-in-law died suddenly when so Kai, my youngest, was born in September. My father-in-law died suddenly in the January, and it was a real shock for us all, obviously, a really, really difficult time. And I actually remember thinking at one stage that I was like, I'm so glad I'm not drinking, because I wouldn't be able to hold things together as well as I can. And that thought did go. Now, I've never said that out loud until now, I don't think, but I really did think that there's so much emotion in a situation like that. There's so much to deal with. You're looking after your kids, you're looking after your partner, and you're grieving yourself, and there'll be different people that will have experienced different difficult challenges in life, and alcohol just always makes everything
It
worse.
does, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
and just kind of to that point, and just going back to when Mum died. Obviously, I was drinking then, and like I always used to worry about that because she had me when she was 45. So I always probably was worried that Mum was going to leave me when I was younger. I've got sisters that are all a lot older than me, and so that was a big worry. And I used to think, you know what, I do want to. I toyed with the idea of taking a break and giving up alcohol, and I knew that she was, getting older and getting poorly, and I kind of wanted to have quit before that happened because I just thought that it was going to be the worst thing that, and I wouldn't be able to deal with that, as well as then the anxiety that alcohol brings. And sadly, like I say, she did pass away in February. And the grief was it's hard, isn't it? But it's not necessarily immediate. It's also it carries on. And so that's why by the time I got to April, I just had this. I did feel like it was a bit of a pivotal moment where I was thinking, what do you want from your life, Rebecca? And do you want to carry on like this? And also, are you going to lean on it a little bit more because it's in the times where you're feeling sad or whatever, open a bottle of wine, finish a bottle of wine. And it was at that moment that I thought, no, I really think that I want to have a go seriously at just removing it from my life. But at the time, you don't want to talk about forever because, like
Yeah.
we said, it's been part of your bloody life for since you were 16, 17 years old. So that's why I kind of dipped my toe in a little bit. But ultimately, I think I knew that I wanted to just, it was not serving me anymore at all. And it was just taking the joy out of life. I knew that if I could get past that hard bit of rewiring your brain and to a new pattern and a new association, that it would lead to long term kind of more happiness. I just had never been in the right mindset to do it before. And you know what? What came from it was so much more than I ever expected. Do you know what I mean? And like you say,
Yeah.
I never wake up in the morning and wish that I'd had a drink last night.
No, I know. I know exactly what you mean. And in a weird way, like that you made that decision just a few short months after your mum had died was probably you were probably like you probably actually wanted to connect with your grief in a way. That it was like it's time to feel it because that's what we do with alcohol. And I know, like I work with a lot of people around like around food issues as well, and like it's we're always running away from our feelings, like whatever uncomfortable feeling it is underneath in relation, whether it's alcohol, whether it's food. Like for me, even alcohol, I used it more so like it was nearly like an excitement. It was like sometimes the excitement of like something I would like my body couldn't handle like if I was going away on a trip or if I was going to someone's wedding or like the excitement of it, like I'd nearly have to have like a drink, like a few drinks the night before, like to calm my excitement. Like then it kind of goes without saying with difficult feelings as well. Like it's just, and it's like we're just so afraid of our feelings. And I would argue positive and negative. We're afraid of to feel the excitement and the good times. We're afraid to feel the really hard times. And then we even create problems. Like you were saying, that worry of your mum passing, like, long before she ever did, like, and I know I can relate to that. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. There's worries we have about different people in our lives, and though that creates feelings in us as well. And I think the first thing when we take this step is to realize it's time to just to feel. And like you have kind of you've said it really well. It's not like everything just gets great straight away. You do have to feel things, and it can feel hard, but it's about that mindset of adding in rather than taking away. It is just about what you're adding into your life. It doesn't even need to be. I think sometimes people can rush into replacing it like really quickly. Now, I'd love your opinions on this because I know you said that like the minstrels replace the wine, but sometimes like those first few weeks, it is just like facing the feeling, being okay with being uncomfortable and not knowing what to do with yourself and being like, "Oh, I can't go out because I'll do," and you avoid situations and you find kind of survival ways initially. But then suddenly it's like you get up on a Sunday morning, you're like, "See that mountain over there? I'm gonna go climb that because I want to." Or I'm gonna go swim in the sea, or this is the kind of stuff that started happening to me. Started going up the mountains, I started swimming in the sea, I started meeting friends doing things that didn't have anything to do with alcohol. And I ended up making lots of new friends as well. And that can be a fear because you're afraid that you're going to lose the connection with some people when you give it up, which sometimes you do.
There's so much I want to talk to you about, honestly, Kate. But it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, you talked about friendships there, and you talked about doing different things and how difficult it is at first. Because I'm interested to know what you how you found it at first. So a few things. So I always wanted to be that 6 a.m. person, and I just never was because my sleep was always rubbish. And my partner would say to me, "But you went to bed at 10 o'clock. You've had bloody however many hours sleep." But of course, it was completely broken sleep. So I always felt tired. So I always wanted to sleep in. And now I am that person that wakes up early to the point where it gets on his nerves because our house is really creaky. So I wake everyone up in the house. But I I don't want to miss the mornings because I feel so fantastic. Again, not every day. Let's not pretend that, life is, but I always wanted to be that person. All of a sudden, you are that person. And yeah, it was scary going back to the friendship thing because you've got all of these preconceived ideas of what you're going to miss out on if you give up alcohol because you feel like it added so much to your life. And if you literally think about it and write it down on a piece of paper, it doesn't add as much as you think. And it's when you start to think about what it's taking away and what it's taking from you. But yeah, I was worried about friendships big time because we'd go round to our friends, and there would be at nights where we all got silly and you'd be singing into a ladle, a cooking
Yeah.
utensil or whatever, and the prosecco would be flowing, and I'd be thinking to myself, well, how is that going to happen ever again? And they're just going to are they going to think I'm a bit boring? And so you're putting blockers in your way, all the things that why you should not take that break from, and I've got this coming up, and there's always going to be reasons not to take a break from alcohol. But yeah, you worry about that, and yeah, you know what? Some friendships aren't the same, but because you're on this journey, and because then you are faced with learning about yourself and feeling the feelings, you start to navigate life differently, and it's so much better. And actually, the friendships that I have now are stronger and different, and they're not clouded by alcohol. And do you know what? I dance now. Who knew that sober dancing was a thing? But I realised that it's the music that I love. I know this sounds all a little bit. Everyone's going to be thinking, "Yeah, well, if it was that easy," but it isn't. And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it's easy straight away because I shied away from certain things. But then I found myself going to an event, feeling more confident without alcohol, not having had a glass of wine while I was putting my makeup on, then turning up, feeling comfortable in my own skin. And then when the music comes on, I want to go,
Mm.
I want to dance. And I'm realizing
Yeah.
it's not because I've had 5 glasses of Prosecco, it's because I actually really enjoy the music and I really want to dance. And then waking up the next day, remembering everything, not worrying about what you've said to somebody, or because, when I'd had a few glasses of wine, um, doesn't happen to everyone, I don't think, does it? But I always found it like I was a bit more loose lipped and thought that things were acceptable to say.
Yeah, and I think everyone has those kind of regrets or that fear, being like, "Oh, did I say something or did I, and did I come across this way?" And everyone has that. But I think what you've said here, right, around that fear of being boring, this was me for so long, where it's like it was this fear of that I didn't want people to think I was boring. But yet every time I would drink or go out, I was putting on a front, like, without even realizing I was putting on a front. It was this ego. And I think because in our culture, we start drinking so young. So, like, 18 years old or younger, like, it's teenagers or whatever, starting in your teens and you're drinking. And like, this is at the stage where you're developing your ego anyway and figuring out who you are. And it, like, alcohol becomes such a part of who you are, the friendships that you make, the everything. And it really was. It's the fear of losing friends. It's the fear of coming across as boring. It's the fear of handling social situations. And what I've learned is, yeah, some friendships might fall away, a lot less of them than you think. A lot less friendships than you think. You will more than likely inspire others to look at themselves a little bit, or else they will just be really happy for you. And that's what true friends are. And it's interesting because, I like I've said, I've made a lot of new friends in recent years, particularly with a career change, with getting into health and fitness in general. I've made a lot of friends kind of through fitness, through business. But my three closest friends that I have been friends with since secondary school, and like, we're all busy, we're all raising kids, we see each other 4 or 5 times a year, and when we get together, it's like no time has passed. It's like it's 2003 all over again, And and it doesn't matter. Like, usually we go meet somewhere. So usually a couple of us are driving anyway. One of my friends doesn't drink either, so she gave up a long time ago. And then the other two do drink, but usually one of them are driving. So like it's not a drinking thing anymore. And it's just really nice. I have those friendships. I suppose my life has kind of, the way it's fallen is, I don't have that culture like that. I don't have that group of friends where we go to each other's houses to drink anymore. That doesn't happen anymore. It used to, but it's just not in my life anymore. I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all. I love connecting with my friends and going places. Any of my newer friends, we get together and we go to an event, or we go and meet for lunch or coffee, and it's really nice. And or we'll go for a hike. Like I set up a hiking group and I've made so many friends through that. But when it comes to realizing, or this ties up into what you were saying to me as well about the introvert and extrovert. Once I let go of that fear of being boring and was like, so what if I am boring? I just wanted to interrupt the podcast for a moment to talk to you a little bit about Kate Hamilton Health online coaching. So we have two coaching options available. We have our elite coaching and we have our group coaching service. Our elite coaching service is bespoke, individualized coaching, which will help you to finally break free from diet culture with one-to-one anytime support from your coach and with access to a safe, supportive community. This is a higher ticket coaching option, and the coaching is by application only. If you go to my website, katehamiltonhealth.com, you will be able to apply for elite coaching through there, and we will be in touch to organize a call and to get you up and running. In relation to our group coaching starts on the first Monday of every month. When it's full each month, we do close the doors. With the group coaching is about building the habits, body, and energy of the healthiest version of yourself and finally make it stick. We include personalized calories and portions, food lists, recipes, meal plan ideas, step goals, home or gym based workouts, depending on what you want, changed every 8 weeks, mindset work, app access. So that's the Kate Hamilton Health app, which will be your hub for everything. Weekly yoga classes, WhatsApp group community, weekly group Q&A with myself, fun challenges, daily habits form, weekly self check-in, fortnightly check-ins with your coach, a library full of lifestyle guides, a library full of lessons, seminars, and all of this is updated regularly. We have weekly group Zoom calls with myself and the team, regular guest seminars where we get experts on to talk more to you about different topics that we need experts on for. And then we have in-person events twice a year that you will get at a major discount as being a member of the Kate Hamilton Health community. As I said, this starts the first Monday of every month. If you go to my website, katehamiltonhealth.com, you will see when the next group coaching intake is starting for you. So we close the doors as soon as that intake is full, or the Monday before the group coaching starts. So usually that last Monday of the previous month. So if you head over to katehamiltonhealth.com, all of that information that I've talked through is on the website. You'll be able to book your spot for the next intake there. And I will chat to you all then. If that's who I am, that's who I am. And people who like me will like me, and people who don't won't. And that's okay. And I think that surrender was really, really liberating. And that's when I discovered it was when I discovered I was like, I really just like quiet time. I like being in small groups. I like being one to one with someone, or, just in a small group or on my own. I quite like being on my own as well. And that's okay. And when it came to alcohol, I used alcohol to go places that were chaotic. Like when I think about it, and I'll always say this to myself now, if I feel I need alcohol to be somewhere, it's not where I'm supposed to be. Like if someone invites me on a hen party, unless I have to go, like unless it's my sister's hen party, I'm not going. Like unless it's my best friend. Thankfully, I think all my friends, most of them are married now at this stage. But you know what I mean? Like a hen party. And I used to love hen parties, like, oh, Prosecco everywhere, you would have to pay me to go to it. No, actually, you couldn't pay me enough to go to a hen party anymore. I don't want to be in nightclubs. I don't want to be in pubs day in, day out. I don't want, it's just not what I want to do anymore. I like to be outside. I like to be in the daylight. I like to be getting fresh air. I like to be moving my body. I like to explore new places. And it's just not the culture that I want to be connected to anymore. So if someone is like, "Oh yeah, we're going on this hen party and we're going here," and I'm like, "Oh my God, I have to like, oh God, I'd have to just stay drunk the whole time to manage that." I'm like, "No, not going. That's no problem. I'm happily boring.
And you do lose you yeah, it's difficult to explain that, isn't it? That I don't care as much. It's a nice feeling being a lot more comfortable with who you are and the choices and decisions you make.
Yeah, and the people that you might lose along the way, which like I said, isn't that many, is worth the trade for the you that you actually get discover who you really are. And it's funny, I feel like I've done a really full circle moment. And maybe this is as you get older, I'll be 40 next year. As you get older, maybe this is what life is all about. But I feel like I'm doing a full circle moment back to like child me, if that makes sense. Like when you're like about 10, just before you enter 10 or 11, just before the hormones start, just before you kind of head into teen years and you start putting on a front, you start being cool and you start trying to fit in. When you're like, and actually my 8-year-old, he really reminds me of this so well, where he's just authentically himself. He just, and I pray to God he's not going to lose that. He probably will lose it for a few years. We all do, don't we? But I just feel like it's like dropping away the ego that you build through your teens and your 20s to survive in the world, which is needed, to make your way and to climb the ladder and to whatever. But I just feel like alcohol being a really major role, like losing alcohol being a really major role in me being able to shed the layers of me that no longer serve me. And I just feel like I'm coming back to who I actually am, if that makes
It
sense.
makes total sense because you've articulated that really well because that's exactly how I feel.
It's magic, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'd love to be able to go back and tell my, 16-year-old self a lot of advice and that she didn't need to do a lot of things, but I wouldn't be me now if I hadn't gone through what life's experiences. But now I'm reconnecting with that 16-year-old self and that younger self. It's really nice.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. And I wonder, is a part of growing up though? And like this is where like I won't ever I don't preach this. Like I'll have this conversation around alcohol with everyone. And obviously I work with women in relation to health and fitness and we do talk about alcohol a lot. And I'm purposely not really going down the conversation of, the physical reasons why we should not drink or whatever, or should reduce our drinking because, I think a lot of us know this, but I think I've spoken on this before anyway in a podcast, but I just really wanted to focus on the social and emotional side to this. But when it comes to growing up, right? I'm proudly boring. I don't care. You won't find me outside my house past 9 p.m. unless I'm collecting my teenager, and that's fine. And I'm happy with that. But I have the stories, I have the adventures, and I wouldn't trade them. Maybe some of them, but I wouldn't trade a lot of them because I do it is the building blocks of who you are. Now, it doesn't have to involve alcohol, of course not, but it was interesting. I watched a reel, do you know Jamie Alderton? Look him up. He's actually great. He does a lot of good around men's health more so. But he speaks about there was one reel now, it was ages ago, but it really stuck with me. And he's like, I'm 40 now. I don't drink at all. I train whatever amount of days a week and this, that, and the other. I eat well and blah, blah, blah. I get 8 hours sleep every night. And he talks about all things. He goes, but when I was in my 20s, I had nights out, I had this, that, and he was like, I would not trade them for the world. And his point was in relation to young men, which I know isn't our niche, but I think a lot of people listening have sons. And I think about this with my 15-year-old son. This is all ahead of him. And what he said is young men aren't connecting anymore in the same way. And he was like, we used to go to the pub, we'd meet on a Friday, we'd be there for the football or whatever, everyone would be sitting around at the pints and the connection is just magic. And those nights out where, it's literally you're going into battle together. And it's, this is the way he put it, and he's like, I wouldn't trade those years for the world because those people that were by my side, and most of us have, don't live those lifestyles anymore, but they're still by my side and they're friends for life. You know what I mean? And he's like, he's afraid that young men won't, don't, the ones that are drinking green juices at age 21 aren't getting that same experience. Now, I don't, this is just the guy's opinion, but it just really stuck with me and it was interesting because when I think about my older friends, my school friends that I meet a few times a year, we're bonded like glue because of all those experiences that we've had together. And it doesn't have to involve alcohol, but I think we need to make sure like that, you know, that young people are still getting out and doing the adventures, whether it's alcohol related or not, that they're getting out there together rather than just doing it digitally. And I just think it's funny when, like, as well, in relation to what he was saying, I was thinking about my husband as well. And he rarely goes out anymore. And I think men of like, this of my stage of life where we're raising kids and it's busy and people are working and and then they're raising kids and then it's bringing your kids to and from football and whatever other after school activities they're doing and it's busy and he never goes anywhere. Like whereas I'd be good at meeting someone for coffee or going with my hiking group or doing whatever. We like I'll always make time a bit of girl time like, and that's great, but he doesn't. But one of his friends was getting married and they went on a stag do there a couple of weeks ago and he came back in the best form. Like he was just, it was he reconnected with his friends that he hadn't done in ages, and I was like, just go do this every month or two. Just go meet the lads.
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it? I recently went on a weekend away with girls. It wasn't as raucous as it would have been if we were in our 30s like we used to. And I was probably quite pleased about that because I thought I was the first to bed. I stayed up, managed to stay up on the first night till 1. But apparently someone sloped off just after me and she'd come back and had a herbal tea. So how times change. But I came back from that feeling great because I'd spent, time with friends. And another one of my friends who I used to go to the pub with, and it was a lot around drinking. We've been meeting up on a Sunday morning to go for a walk in a different way than we would have done. And we call it our therapy session now because you're walking and you're talking at the same time.
Yeah, and I think there does come a time where it is for a lot of us that it is time to be like, okay, look, it doesn't serve me anymore. We've had the adventures. It's time to just put them to bed and to have. And I feel like I'm having more adventures now than I did with alcohol because with alcohol, like I'd be just paralyzed in the bed the next day, or like, or when my kids are small, sitting on the couch watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, being like, like that just not be able to function. And it becomes normal, and you just think that that feels normal. Whereas you can't, like, I've been on nights out where ones that I've like, I sound like I never go out. The nights out that I do want to go on, I will go and I won't be the first to go because I'm having such a nice time. But then when it gets to the stage, and what I've noticed with being a non-drinker is on a night out, there is a point where all the people that you love and everything that you're like, "Oh, it's time for me to leave now. Things have taken a turn." And, people are saying the same things over and over again, and it's not making fun of anyone in any way. It's just a bit like, "Oh, yeah, the vibe has changed now. It's bedtime. Good
It
night."
is, and being cool with that, being okay with it's okay to leave. And if people
And you
think,
don't miss
and if
out on
people
anything.
think that you've gone, then that's fine because you've had a nice time. You stayed till you wanted to, how long you wanted to stay till, yeah, and you don't miss anything because after that, it's a lot of people talking a lot of gibberish, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and FOMO was a big thing for me. I always feared missing out.
Mm,
And I have learned that after 1 a.m., you don't miss anything.
no,
No, nothing, and nothing, and then anything you do miss, it's just as well you missed because it's usually like rows or whatever, like, or people talking shit or, someone falling over or, like it's that stuff that you need to be there for.
yeah, I'm glad that you're the
Yeah.
same. I enjoy going out, but it's nice to be able to come home, and because you also value your sleep and you value your time the next day, because also you've had
Yeah.
so many years of of wasted weekends.
Yeah, no, sleep is one actually that I do want to. The one I'll be the health coach in one area here in relation to sleep. My God. Okay, so like I could go down the route of how, nutrient absorption, metabolism, it's not just calories in versus calories out when it comes to alcohol, which I'm not going to do right now. But if there's one area of your health that alcohol is really, really affecting its sleep. Anyone who wears a smartwatch, just look at your resting heart rate the night that you've had a few drinks when you go to sleep. It is massively increased. A lot of people do think, "Oh, I need a drink to sleep." It's not real sleep. It like your body basically when you ingest alcohol, your body sees it as a poison. I'm not trying to label alcohol as poison, but that is what your body sees it as. And no matter what's going on inside, actually, I can't help it. I'm just going to have to go through it all. No matter what is happening inside your body, whether it doesn't matter how much protein you've eaten, it doesn't matter how many salads you've had, it doesn't matter how much water you've drank, it doesn't, like none of that matter. Your training, like it doesn't matter. As soon as you drink alcohol, your body is going to stop doing everything that's unnecessary and is going to deal with that poison. So your body is going to so that's that's happening when you go to sleep after drinking. Your body is frantically trying to metabolize that alcohol. That's why your heart rate's up. That's why you're not sleeping properly. But as well as not sleeping properly, it's false sleep. Like you're getting very little deep sleep or REM sleep, which is extremely important for recovery. Your body is not absorbing the nutrients from all the salads and the protein and all the stuff that you're eating. It's not absorbing them effectively, and this is why people's tummies, can people can suffer with stomach issues as well if they drink regularly, because that's what's happening inside your body. So it doesn't matter how good you are Monday to Friday if you're doing this now. And I'm not talking about a special occasion. I'm talking about if you're doing this every weekend, it is going to be affecting your digestion. If you're finding it difficult to lose weight, this is why, not just the calories in alcohol, it's actually just your body's going to not break down body fat because it's breaking down alcohol regularly. That's what's actually going to happen. Because it's a cyclical thing, you think you're being so healthy all week, ticking all those boxes, and then every Saturday or every Friday and Saturday, you're doing the same thing. It's a cycle. Even if you don't feel it, even if you kind of feel like, oh, okay, I feel okay. Some people don't feel like they get hangovers. People don't feel like alcohol affects them. It does.
It does, and you say about a lot of people think that it's almost sends them off to sleep, and because it does have a sedating effect, but then as that wears off and the cortisol rushes in, that's why you're waking up in the middle of the night. You're
Yeah.
not able to go back to sleep, and we know what tiredness does. So that I kind of think that again wanted to talk about not doing everything at once when you do remove alcohol. We'll talk about that in a minute, but sleep. So, yes, you remove alcohol, but then you've got to get your sleep right because sleep is one of the most critical things that has a knock on effect with everything with your food, your mood, your movement the next day. And if you're tired, as we know, you want to eat more, you don't want to do all the exercise, etc. And I thought that interestingly, it was just alcohol why I would feel rough the next day. But it turns out that it is tiredness as well. So since I've not been drinking, if I've gone out and had a really late night, I still actually want to eat crap the next day. And then I was like, but I didn't have a drink, so I don't know why. But of course, a lot of it when you are drinking is linked to tiredness. So I'm not saying therefore it's okay to have a drink. No, the alcohol's exacerbating all of that as well. So
Yeah.
it's killing your sleep, and you must get your sleep right. So you were talking about smartwatch and stuff. In the first week of me quitting alcohol, my resting heart rate dropped by 7 beats per minute.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and I always used to. So I'll wake up and I'll look at my Whoop, and it'll give you a score, and you might have a red, a yellow, a green, and it was always in the red, and it was so soul destroying. And then now, don't get me wrong, it's not perfect all the time, but there's little things that I implement now to try and improve my sleep, and I am still work in progress, but it's in the green most of the time, and isn't it
Yeah.
fantastic to see? Then you can set yourself up for a good week, a good day, all of the things that you want to do, and all of the reasons. Because I used to try and train, and it was like pushing water uphill. I wasn't getting anywhere fast because I was drinking these liquid calories, and yeah,
I think sleep as well for women, and you touched on this earlier. A lot of people are caring for parents. They're raising kids, or they've small kids, or they've got teenagers, or they've some people are going through marriage breakups. There's work stresses. There's climbing the ladder. Like in general, and I work with a lot of women. Like we take on a lot. And lots of different women, lots of ages, lots of different things going on in their lives. But in general, most women, what we have in common is we are managing a lot, and that leads to an awful lot of stress. And when we're chronically stressed, it's raising our cortisol levels, which is then affecting other hormone levels as well. As we get older, those hormone levels are going to start changing anyway, as we know. So the one thing that you can do, the one place to start is good sleep habits. And the one thing you could do to help towards your good sleep habits, the first step is removing alcohol.
you're so right, and that's why I say don't do everything at once. Don't do everything at the same time. Like, right, I'm giving up alcohol. I'm going to start a fitness plan. I'm going to go on a diet, because it's just not sustainable to do that. So do that one
Yeah.
thing and do remove the alcohol and then focus on your sleep. That's what I would say. I think
You have a step-by-step process that you like people to follow?
yeah, when we go through the challenge, it's like a 30-day challenge, and it's loosely like that. They will get a motivational video off me every morning that talks through those 30 days. But at the same time, it's having a few things in place. So it's not kind of step by step, because there's too much to think about all at once. But it's having a few things in place to try and help you set you up for success, ready for when you're gonna do that, take that break, or if you want, quit alcohol for good, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, so basically if anyone joins your 30-day challenge, you basically guide them through what to focus on day to day?
Yeah. So what we'll do is, once they join, we have a welcome call, and before that, they've got time to look around and get their heads into the right mindset. But then on that welcome call, I talk about all of the things that you kind of need to do to put in place, ready. So it's like downloading the Try Dry app, because that for me was crucial. And the reason why, or get out a piece of paper and draw your 30 days on a tick list, and then you can tick them off. And on the Try Dry app, you've got like a little yellow cup of tea with a parasol in, and like a little mocktail. And so on every day, I would have it. It came up at 9 o'clock in the evening, and I would tick it, and you'd get to like 7 days, 10 days, 20 days, and you'd get that hit of dopamine every night, and you'd feel really pleased with yourself. And then you start to build up a streak, and you've got all these yellow boxes of all these cups of teas with your parasol in, and it feels fantastic, and you have this sense of pride. And for me, I didn't want to break my streak once I got to 60, 90 days, 100 days down the line. But that's one of the big things that I say to do. And then it's immersing yourself in all things alcohol free, like quit lit, podcasts, following people, all of those kind of things that you've got to do, because and hearing success stories about other people and how they've done it, because not everybody's the same as you. You might drink on a weekend, you might drink every evening and just have a glass of wine. But if it's negatively impacting your life, it doesn't matter how much or how little you're drinking. It's about how it's impacting you. It's not about the units. So everybody's got their own journey that they're going on. And so we talk about that, and we talk about how to change up what you're doing, and instead of the routine that you have been doing, which is probably getting to a certain point in your evening where you decide that you want to open that glass of open that bottle of whatever it is. So do something different and go for a walk, go and run a hot bath, tidy out a cupboard if you need to. Just changing the association, and keeping to do that. So that's rewards. What else do we talk about? Joining a community, or having an accountability partner, telling a friend or a partner, and just saying, look, I'm on this health kick, I'm on this reset, I'm doing it. So that's I want you to be respectful, be supportive, while I'm just doing this thing for me, because I'm actually giving myself just a little reset, and giving my body and my mind a rest from alcohol. So there's some of the things that we talk about, and then we have weekly calls, so everybody can have a chance to chat about their wins, about their challenges, what they're finding difficult, what they are pleased that they're seeing with themselves, because just in a few short days, women start to see differences in their eyes and their skin. Sleep doesn't necessarily always come at first, because if you've been doing something for quite a long time, it takes a while for your body to adjust, but know that that'll come. So yeah, lots
Yeah.
that we do lots. There's lots you can do on your own as well, if you think about it.
And you host a few challenges every year, don't you?
Yeah, so I host one every quarter. So I've got the next one's coming up in January, and then we do one pretty much every 3 months after that. And then, interestingly, first time I ever did the challenge, when we got to the end of it, some of the ladies had found it so helpful. And actually, I just want to go back to something we said at the beginning, which was talking about feeling like you've given up. And I said, when I've done dry January, and I'm like, I'm hurtling towards February, just only 3 more days or whatever. And when I changed, what changed was the mindset for me was when I decided to take that break in April. It was about what I was feeling free of. And that's what changed. It was not about what I was giving up, it was how much freedom. And so some of these ladies, we got to the end of the challenge and they're like, feel amazing. And they you could tell they turned it round in their head, and that's how they felt as well, what they were gaining from it. And they said, "So what happens next?" And I hadn't really thought that through at that point. I said, "Well, if you want, we can carry on with something which is now turned into a community." So, like, if somebody's finished the challenge, that's fine because they might have only wanted to change their relationship with alcohol, take back control, and then away they go. They've got some tools and techniques then to go off with. But others want the support and want to continue with, they've made friends within the group, they want the accountability. But we don't just talk about alcohol free. We then have like a weekly call where we just talk. We've got kind of different pillars. So it's, nutrition, it's movement, it's sleep and mindset. So we kind of talk about all areas of health and wellness. And the reason I did it with just women is because there's a lot that you want to chat about, isn't there? And I think it feels
Yeah.
like a nice safe space where you don't have to just talk, you can talk about anything you want, really. We're just trying to be the best version of ourselves. We're all on a journey, and it's really about you versus you. It's not about who's on day 90 and someone's on. Everyone supports each other and celebrates each other, but also is celebrating themselves because they are learning about themselves all the time. But you can't do everything at once. So that's when they incorporate. I've got women in the group that they've just started going back to hobbies that they forgot about. So one lady, she remembered that she said, I forgot what I used to do in life. And I said, "Well, what did you enjoy?" She said, "Well, I used to enjoy singing." She joined a rock choir and absolutely loves it. Other lady, she started doing a climbing wall again, so she does that 3 times a week. A lot of ladies are trying open water swimming, just reconnecting, which is what we started off chatting about in the first instance, reconnecting with themselves and remembering what they used to really enjoy in life.
Yeah. Oh, that's so, so powerful. And I just, that community and just being surrounded by people who are on a similar journey, and everyone's journey is different as well. And I think just before we finish up as well, I just really want to make the point as well, when I talk about being alcohol free, that it doesn't have to be perfect. Even somebody who wants to do one of your challenges doesn't have to, like, as you said, you don't never have to say, "Oh, I'll never drink again," or that it's forever. You might just wanna do a 30-day reset and then intend on reintroducing it into your life, and that's okay. And then maybe you might decide that you wanna stay alcohol free. It's taken me a long time to get there, and I think but, like, I've learned so much about myself in the process, like, learning that fear of being boring, that fear of missing out, that, you know, discovering who I am, what I'm about. As I said, dropping all those layers, that's taken years to get there. And I did that initial 2 years where I remember it, and it's funny, like, kind of as you were talking, today, I kind of was really reflecting as well. And I did 2 years around that time after, when my 3rd child was born, and then I reintroduced alcohol back into my life. But at that stage, when I did the 2 years alcohol free, I got rid of that drinking at home. So up until that point, it was, the wine, the Thursday to Sunday, that kind of habit, that, and then just feel like shit all the time, like, and so that went on for a solid, like, I don't know, years and years. And I did that 2 years. So that first stint that I did, when I reintroduced alcohol, I reintroduced it actually coming up to my sister's hen party. You see, there we go, hen party place, and that's what. Sorry, I loved my sister's hen party. It was amazing. In case she's listening or any of her friends are listening, I did love it. No, I did. I organized it and I loved it. But coming up to that, I reintroduced drinking and I drank at my sister's hen party. And then any special occasions then after that, I did drink. But then I think then there was just too many hangovers that I experienced where I was like, this just doesn't agree with me. It's not good for my mental health. It's not good for my anxiety. So then I went alcohol free again. And this is where I did the year. And where anyone who the podcast episode that Rebecca's referring to, it's way back. If you scroll down, you'll find my alcohol journey. And I did over a year alcohol free. I continued on. I don't know how long I did, 18 months or something like that. And then when I reintroduced it again, and you see, there was always this kind of niggle where it was like, how does it fit into my life? I didn't reintroduce it as the way, like, have like go on a mad one every special occasion. This was very much, I gave myself like a 2 or 3 drink limit. And I reintroduced it like that. And this was only a short space of time that I did this, that I reintroduced it. I think it was, we had a couple of holidays on and and I sipped on a few beers with Dave on holidays and I had a couple of wines with my mum one of the evenings. And, like I could count on one hand the occasions that I did. And there was no mad hangovers or mad nights out. They were gone. So again, I had changed my relationship with it again after another year and a half of it. But what I found this time was I was like, "There's nothing that this gives me anymore." I had proven that I could enjoy life without it, and in fact, when I reintroduced it, I was like, "I'm enjoying life a little bit less now, even with a little amount of alcohol," like on one of the holidays, and I might have had 1 or 2 beers with Dave in the evening time, sitting in the sun while the kids were getting their showers, before we go out for dinner or whatever, and I just felt slightly under par the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, and didn't have a hangover. I'd lost my spark. I wasn't like, because I'm addicted to the spark that's inside myself. And I'm just always seeking ways to bring it out, to connect with it. And I just couldn't. Like, it was just slightly under par. And didn't feel like shit. I just was like, I just feel a little bit dulled. So then I decided, and this then was only actually last October. I was like, right, even drinking the odd time like this, I just don't want to anymore. So I stopped and I haven't drank since last October. So nearly a year again. This time, Rebecca, I know I will never drink again. I know that now, and not because anything traumatic happened. And each time my relationship changed and got better and better with it, but it got me to the truth of there's nothing it gives me anymore. And if anything, it just slightly takes something away from me every time I drink. I don't want to anymore. I'm like, why would I give up my spark for one drink? I just don't. So I now know I will never drink again. And I must do an updated solo podcast on that
Yeah, do
actually.
that. I'd love to hear
Yeah,
it. I
absolutely.
love that story, and it's great to hear that because you can tell by your body language how your face is lighting up when you're talking about the decision you made. But it doesn't happen straight away, and that's why I did, the odd dry November, dry January, whatever, because you have to come to the realization in your own head at the right time when it's ready for you. And some ladies might do a 30-day challenge and not finish it and then be disappointed, but don't be, because you're just working your way through what you want out of life, and you might have to have a good few goes for it to stick, but it doesn't have to stick, but I would say definitely dip your toe in the water and just see what it's like. If you just try and have a bit of space between yourself and alcohol, see what it's like.
Yeah, exactly, and drop the fear and just become sober curious. Like, if there's a curiosity in you, just follow the curiosity. You don't even need to set yourself any expectations. Just join Rebecca's challenge. Surround yourself with she will provide you with loads of resources to listen to and to read, and you'll be surrounded by other people on a journey. You're not going to compare, and just, yeah, dip your toe in it. See how it feels and see where it leads you. And like, it could be like a 5-year journey like mine has been, and that's okay.
Yeah, I love hearing that you just decided that you didn't want to be under par. And that's
Yeah.
fantastic. So it doesn't have to be a rock bottom or anything like that. You just doesn't serve you
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. Well, to see, we all have days where we feel under par anyway. Like, you know what I mean? Whether we have a cold, like I do at the minute, whether we're dealing with a loss, whether whether we're dealing with perimenopause, whether we've got an injury, whether, just having a bit of a shit time. Like, there's lots of things in life that are going to have us feeling under par, but we're never going to be able to swim back over water if we're also doing something to ourselves that are making us even more under par.
Yeah, there's so many times that I say that when things happen in my life that, like you say, oh, there's always something, and I always think to myself, oh, thank God I'm not drinking, just to add more complexity to my life. It doesn't need to
Yeah.
be there.
Oh, no, so true. Rebecca, this has been such an amazing conversation. I could keep going. I know you could as well. Perhaps we will do a part two further down the line. But for anyone who would like to reach out to you, follow your page, because I know there's so much value that you give in your page, and then they'll be able to, I presume, be able to find details about your challenges and all through that. Is the best place Instagram to reach you?
Best place is Instagram. I'm on @_Rebecca Forshaw.
Amazing. Thank you so much,
Thanks for
Rebecca.
having me, Kate.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much for listening to the podcast. And I would just ask for one thing from you. If at all possible, could you make sure that you subscribe to the podcast? It really does make such a difference. If there's a particular episode that you've enjoyed, please do share it in your WhatsApp groups, share it on your stories, tag myself and the guest in your stories. All of these things really do help to grow the podcast. And obviously, if there's anything you'd like to reflect on, please do leave a comment. It would mean the world to me, and I will see you on the next one.